Meantime, a meeting is now underway at a Florida courthouse in Tallahassee between Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, and the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. The House Oversight Committee has issued a subpoena for Maxwell to testify before that panel next month. Lawmakers will head to the prison where Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence to hear what she has to say. Tennessee Republican Congressman Tim Burchett is on the House Oversight Committee. We'll get to Joe Biden in just a moment, but let's start on the Maxwell-Blanche meeting that's happening right now in Florida. And the question that I have for you is, you were pushing this resolution for a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell to give a deposition before the House Oversight Committee. What do you want to know from her, Congressman?
Well, I wrote Chairman Comer a letter a couple weeks ago, and in fact, we passed the resolution in the subcommittee of oversight and to get that subpoena, and Chairman Comer graciously agreed to follow through with it. Yeah, I would hope that we could get to the bottom of it. I want to know the money trail. I want to know who employed, was Epstein a foreign agent, who are his benefactors. I want to know the way that they access these children. I want to know names of the people that were involved. I don't care about people who flew on his dadgum plane. President Trump has stated multiple times he flew on his plane. As a matter of fact, he banned that dirtbag from Mar-a-Lago over 15 years ago. I'm tired of hearing people trying to pin Trump to it. Trump has been out front saying that he knew the guy, and he banned him from Mar-a-Lago. They knew each other. They ran in the same circles. It's just like me. I know a lot of dirtbags myself. But I would hope that we could follow the money trail and just see where it all leads. And hopefully in all this, and I warn people, we need to protect the name of the innocent. Then they were children at the time that were raped, over 1,000 apparently. Yeah. And you know, I've been told we could bring down governments and places all over the world. Well, if they're built on this, dadgummit, we ought to bring them down, because they are, to me, they're doing business with the devil, and I'm sure Mr. Epstein's dealing with him right now.
So one of the big questions is, how much does Ghislaine Maxwell know? Constitutional law professor Alan Dershowitz believes that she holds the keys to the kingdom. Listen to what he said.
She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody. She knows everything. And if she were just given use immunity, she could be compelled to testify. I'm told that she actually would be willing to testify, and there'd be no reason for her to withhold any information.
Do you share the same opinion as the professor, that she knows where all of the bodies are buried?
Alan is correct, and I would warn people too. They'll tell people, say, well, she'll get up there and lie. If there's a paper trail, if there's any of those files show that she lies and she perjured herself, she'll go back to prison under her original sentence. So I think she's compelled to tell the truth in this. And Professor Dershowitz is correct, I believe. She does hold all the keys to the kingdom on this issue.
Right. On that particular point, you have a point of disagreement with the Speaker of the House, who thinks that she would not be truthful. Listen to what Speaker Johnson said.
Could she be counted on to tell the truth? Is she a credible witness? I mean, this is a person who's been sentenced to many, many years in prison for terrible, unspeakable conspiratorial acts and acts against innocent young people. I mean, can we trust what she's going to say? Even if she raises her hand and says that she'll testify under oath, is that something that can be trusted? You know, that's a reasonable question. Is that credible evidence? I don't know, but we'll have to see.
But you disagree. You believe that she would be compelled to tell the truth.
Unless she wants to go back to prison. I mean, the Speaker is a constitutional attorney. I'm not. I passed a lot of laws, and a lot of times I'll have to get the attorneys to tell me what they said. So he understands the law a lot better than I do, but I think she'll be compelled to tell the truth, and I think she knows that there's enough of a paper trail. But yeah, there's always the chance that she'll lie, because she is a dirtbag. She procured these kids for Epstein, obviously, and in some strange way she loved him. And so I just don't see, I said, let's get her in there. Let's let the legal experts do it. I've talked to many legal experts. I've been talking to my friend Greg Isaacs here in town, criminal defense attorney, of questions that should be asked. And, you know, and I'd hope I can get that opportunity to be there.
Yeah. Another point of interest for you, who knew what when with Joe Biden and his fitness for office. Ron Klain is currently giving a deposition before committee staffers. Unlike Andy Tomasini, Anthony Brunel, and Dr. Kevin O'Connor, he did not take the fifth. We spoke with Ro Khanna and Congressman Andy Biggs after the first session, just before the lunch break. Here's what they said about his testimony.
I found Mr. Klain to be very credible. He answered every single question. He was fully cooperative. There are times where he was asked about personal conversations he had with the president, and he was forthcoming, even if he could have said it was a private matter.
Carefully. It's going, he's saying the things that I kind of expected him to say, which is reflective of the book, the Whipple book, and some of the articles written about that. But he's been answering the questions, I think, forthrightly and in the way he sees the world.
Not there for the deposition today, but you've been talking with your colleagues on the committee. What have you been hearing?
I think that it's disclosing what's going on and just the track they took to get things done. You know, of course, the auto pen is what everybody's looking at. But I think the interesting thing to note is with this, if you've ever talked to prosecutors, especially the mob or other groups like that, they find somebody who will talk. And this guy's an honorable man, and he sees the writing on the wall. And these other people are trying to avoid probably a prison sentence, and they're being ill-advised, I would say. And he's been advised correctly. And I suspect once the mortar starts falling off the brick wall, a few more of these are going to come forward because they're going to say, man, I'm going to be implicated in this thing, and they're going to have to start talking. But I find it to be very credible. And, you know, and the thing is, too, the national media chastised people like me. I was banned from stations because I said things that he was inept and mentally unstable to be the commander in chief. And that was years ago. And now all of a sudden it's just commonplace. So I think that can't be said enough.
All right. Well, we'll see what some of your colleagues might have to say about Klain's testimony when they come out of it. They're in the afternoon session now. We'll see what the future holds. Congressman, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. All right, Sandra.
All right, John.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.